All right. Welcome back to a new episode of This Week in the NHL. I'm Ryan Peugeot, and I'm here with my co-host, Kevin Benet-Amador. Well, Kevin, it's a day after the start of the 2019 NHL playoffs. There's a whirlwind of topics that should and could be talked about today. We're going to start this week's episode off by obviously talking about some of the highlights from this recent week in the NHL, the playoff matchups, and finally, we're going to debate who we think some of the award winners are going to be. The runaway award, we already know Kucherov has won his awards, some of the ones that are guaranteed. But yeah, we're going to start this episode off with the highlights of the most recent week. So what stands out to you, man? Obviously, I touched on it a little bit. Anything else in terms of Kucherov?
Yeah, Kucherov, what a man, man. Like, this year is his year.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
128 points. He tied Tampa Bay for the same amount of points, which is insane. Never seen that in my lifetime, at least.
Yeah.
And what a good pickup they have there. And he's definitely going to be their franchise guy for the rest of the...
Yeah, move over Stamkos, move over some of these guys that were kind of
Kudrov's
touted ahead of him. He's the new guy. You think this is his coming out party? Like he's the new man in Tampa Bay.
Even last year, he came second in points or third in points.
And we also have another disappointing playoff miss from the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid. He was interviewed just the other day, and he had some pretty damning comments on the state of the Oilers. You want to read those for us, man?
So he quote-unquote said, "It's frustrating. We want to play in the playoffs as a team. I personally want to play in the playoffs. And I'm not happy about it. It's going to be a long summer."
So yeah, that's pretty disappointing. Like,
it's negative. I feel bad for McDavid because he's overall he's an MVP.
Yeah.
Like Hart this year might go to Kucherov, but again, the Ted Lindsay could go.
That's the thing. The Ted Lindsay's kind of voted on by the players, and the Hart is voted on by their hockey writers. If they are going to keep wasting his talent and in his prime now.
Yeah, and
I mean, how can you blame the guy for being upset and being this frustrated?
And not only that, I don't know if you saw his comments maybe a couple of days later. He knows they're in a rebuilding stage. He realizes that, and he says he wants to be part of it.
Would you? If you're Connor McDavid in his prime, would you want to be...
Would you want to be the big name? I would want to be the big name.
But would you want to be wasting your prime?
It doesn't seem like he's wasting it. It
No.
seems like he's having... I know he's frustrated that they're not making the playoffs, but it seems like he wants to be part of that.
How long is it going to take, and how much more of McDavid's prime is going to be wasted before we actually get that result that Edmonton and McDavid wants? So any moves that they make going forward, this is my take, they have to run those by McDavid. Listen, we're hiring this GM. Listen, we're hiring this coach. Listen, we're thinking about going after this big fish in free agency. Before we get into the actual matchups and how we think they're going to shake out, just when it comes to home ice, who do you think... So home ice goes to Boston, Tampa Bay, the Islanders, Washington, San Jose, Calgary, Nashville, and Winnipeg.
I think the top two, crowds for home ice, Islanders, obviously, because we heard it last night. Boston always has a great crowd. Out of the West, the only good crowd I enjoy is Winnipeg.
Winnipeg, yeah, with their white.
I'm not a fan of the Sea of Piss of Nashville, so
right.
It's okay.
Well, and in last night, the Islanders, the home crowd was electric.
Insane.
I have that series going 7. I have Pittsburgh winning. But after watching, hey,
There we go.
We'll talk about that again later on. But after watching last night's game, Kevin, I'm actually pretty nervous because, again, a Leaf fan, when Tavares went home this season, he went to the Island, and the Islanders fans were all over him. I thought that was a rarity. That game last night had me on the edge of my seat. I had goosebumps.
Insane game.
It's so loud in there. Now that I think... the crowd is going to play such an important role. Pittsburgh might not have the edge anymore. If it does go 7 like we predict, I think the Islanders have the edge. So we talked about, obviously, we'll start in the East because it's a land we're familiar with. You're a Washington Capitals fan. I'm a Maple Leafs fan, and we both live in Ontario. So it's kind of most of the hockey we watch is in the East. So Toronto and Boston, we just talked about it. I think it's going to go 7.
I'm going with everybody else. It's going to be Boston in 6.
If the Leafs don't get their stuff together, that's exactly how it's going to play out, if not sooner. It'll be Boston. I thought Boston in 4 a couple weeks ago. So, Tampa, Columbus. How do you feel? They had one. Keep in mind they had one game last night. We made these predictions before Columbus came out and stomped them last night.
So my bracket's a little messed up from that one. just by one game so far. I had Tampa in 4, but I don't know. I'm gonna say Tampa, I guess now in 5, but my bracket's gonna kind of be wrong.
I can't disagree. I've got Tampa in 5 as well. The bracket's not necessarily wrong yet. They could win 4 straight.
Good.
Your boys, Washington, Carolina.
Not Carolina.
Carolina.
Washington in 5.
In 5. You don't give Carolina much of a chance? No storm surge this year?
They're done with the storm surge, and the season record was like 3-1 for the Capitals.
I think Washington in 6.
Yeah.
I give Carolina a couple more games, but I don't think it's much of a difference. We don't disagree very much. We talked about this a little bit. A series that happened, Game 1 last night. Pittsburgh and the Island. Who do you take in 7 games?
Well, Pittsburgh and Islanders based off our little fist bump earlier. So, and why I say that? Sure, Islanders have heart. It's great and all, but honestly, heart can only take you so far when there's a skill in front of you.
Over to the West, San Jose and Vegas.
Yeah, kind of like if San Jose doesn't win the Cup in the next couple of years, they're done.
Yeah, but people have been saying that about them for 10 years. They're one of those teams, they've been really good at creating a window that's lasted for a long time.
I'm going Vegas in 7.
In 7. Hey, 7 games. I took Vegas in 6. Calgary, Colorado. We talked about it a little earlier on. You thought maybe 5 games.
I'm going
for
5
Calgary.
games.
Yeah. St. Louis, Winnipeg.
This is a good series. Really good series. It's like it's almost up there for the top in the first round, but it's not my top. We'll get into that later. But St. Louis and Winnipeg, I'm gonna have to go Winnipeg in 6. And honestly,
So you're still taking
Canadian
Winnipeg?
they have to win it.
Little patriotism, as they say. And then our final series over in the West, we've got Nashville and Dallas. How do you feel about either one of those two teams?
I think it's
that was another game that happened last night.
Underrated series. I feel like everyone's going Nashville. Dallas barely made it. Dallas sucks.
I called Nashville to sweep. I'm already done.
Sweep. Yeah, you're already done, I guess. I have Nashville in 6, but Dallas, they got skill. They got named players. They got Tyler Seguin. Jamie Benn's a tough guy. Yeah. You can't he won the Art Ross a couple years ago.
Yeah, he's an old school hockey player. Like he drops
no
the
visor.
Mitts. He's a tough guy.
No visor, drops the mitts. He plays aggressive.
Yeah. So
again,
what do you think
Nashville
this series comes out to be?
Nashville in 6.
In 6. I took Nashville in 4. I didn't think Dallas stood a licking chance, and again last night they pulled off the win. Now, I need you to take me through something. When we were kind of discussing topics for this script, you mentioned that you could see a potential matchup in the finals. Take me through, the story here and how you could see this this potential matchup. Most people wouldn't expect this, so let's hear it.
I kind of switched up on my bracket, but I can.
I mean, I hate to put you on the spot, but I thought it was a curious. He makes a good point because Kevin could see a rematch in the finals this year, and let's see. I want to see how you.
So obviously, Tampa's gonna win it. We're gonna start off that. We're just gonna go down all the way. Boston's gonna beat Toronto. Washington's gonna beat Carolina. Pittsburgh is gonna beat the Islanders because they have more skill. So obviously another rematch. Pittsburgh and Capitals. Great matchup. It's gonna be great. Capitals in 6. Tampa's gonna beat Boston. Let's go to the west side now. Calgary, they can beat Colorado. Vegas is gonna face Calgary. Nashville's gonna beat Dallas. Winnipeg can beat St. Louis. Vegas has a better goalie than both of the Calgary Flames combined. You can't disagree.
Yeah, I don't.
And they got decent power. They got decent offense and defense. They're all around built pretty good. They're a good team overall. Vegas can move on to the conference finals against the Sea of Piss, Nashville. Sorry, Winnipeg. You're out.
The Sea of Piss.
Sorry.
So then ultimately you're left with who's your last two here?
And like I said, once Washington beats Pittsburgh, Ovechkin does not care. He does not care who he faces. He's going to go to the Stanley Cup final.
He doesn't care. He's going. That's Kevin's take.
Out of the West, my bracket says Nashville, but I could easily see Vegas going to the final to have a rematch once and for all again, and the Capitals winning it again.
Whoever comes out of the again, that's a crazy kind of path, but listen, that doesn't. All those teams are in the playoffs, so all it takes is 4 games to move on. All right, we're going to move on to some runaways then for the NHL awards. We've got the Art Ross. That's a guarantee for Kucherov. Obviously, he hit 128
Kucherov,
points.
you're a beauty.
Kucherov's a beauty. He hit 128 points. He tied the franchise's points in 128. McDavid, when we kind of put these together, he sat in second place. So he was like a good 10 points behind. He's not going to make it. So essentially, Kucherov's won it. We know that because we've seen all the releases. Like he's actually, it's over. Series is over. The Hart.
The Hart, it's going to go to Kucherov.
Just for that alone? Or is there any other factor?
David had the most points last season, and he got the Hart and the Lindsay. Kucherov has the most points by far this year. It has to go to him. Without him, they wouldn't have... I mean, again, I know Vasilevsky's a very good player, like goalie himself. Yeah. Without Vasilevsky and Kucherov, Tampa would be nothing.
He's got a teammate here that's in the running for the Vezina. We got Vasilevsky, along with behind him Bishop and Carey Price. Would you keep Carey Price in there now?
I'm not keeping Carey Price in there. I'm going to switch him out with Robin Leonard.
He's had a good playoff. Game 1 was incredible. I just don't think he can keep it through the whole series.
He's had such a good year, and like everything he's been through, it just seems like it's his run. You know, you got to cheer for the guy, but overall, I know Bishop has that good save percentage, which obviously, when you look at save percentage, that's the best goalie in the game.
Yeah.
It's the best goalie. If you have the best save percentage, you're the best goalie in the league.
I mean, it's hard to argue that stat.
But just because Tampa did so well this year and their goalie was Vasilevsky, I'm going to have to go Vasilevsky for this one.
For sure. If Leonard doesn't win the Vezina, could you see him being the nominee for the Masterton, maybe?
Possibly.
He is a good runaway story, or good comeback story.
Masterton would be a really good story for him.
How many Rocket Richards is this for Obi?
I believe it's 8.
8
to tie
Rocket.
his
8 for the 8, grade 8, man. That's incredible. He's I mean,
cool.
he might be 48. We never got a real confirmation on what his actual birth certificate is. So he could be 48. And looking at that hair on top of his head, like there's a good chance he's 48. Anyway, Kucherov, McDavid. What about the Lindsay? Again, this is one of those awards where if you win the Hart, you win the Art Ross, chances are you're going to win the Lindsay. But the difference with the Lindsay, the Ted Lindsay Award, is it's voted on by the players. So you've got the Hart voted on by the actual Hockey Writers Association. When the Lindsay comes around, you got basically you're polling your peers. I have a feeling, just if Kucherov wins it, McDavid is going to win the Lindsay. But do you think it's going to be a sweep for Kucherov here?
It's hard to say because obviously McDavid being on the Edmonton Oilers and doing that well with them.
Yeah, like he keeps them relevant.
It's insane, but it's just how good Kucherov did to tie your team in points.
Yeah.
If you're not voted in by the players, just for that much respect. I don't know what to say. I think Kucherov's just gonna walk away with it.
Speaking of walk away, the Calder, that's going to Elias Pettersson. There's no argument. Sure. Some people have talked about Jordan Binnington, the guy we talked about earlier on. He hasn't had enough of a track record or enough of a solid work. Pettersson from day one was electric. He battled injuries. He had a great shooting percentage. Exactly. Yeah. This guy's got multiple kind of facets to his game. So his Calder, a Calder award is going to be just one of the many, high ranks and high achievements this guy gets in his career. Yeah. Look out for Elias Pettersson. What about the Selke? Bergeron's usually the lock for it, but I mean you've got other guys in there.
I think he's just gonna be a walk away at Bergeron. Straight up.
I'll go outside the box. I'm gonna say maybe this year they don't give it to Barkov just for the fact that maybe Florida's not in the playoffs, but they'll give it to Ryan O'Reilly this year. What about the Norris?
There's definitely big names. Burns for leading defensive points. Giordano, what a great season he had.
Let me give a shout out to Morgan Riley.
Yeah, Morgan Riley's up there. I think those are my 3. And there's also like other people out there like Drew Doughty. He's right up there.
Okay, we get the Lady
My
Bing.
winner, though.
Sorry. Yeah.
My winner this year is Giordano.
I can't disagree. Everyone's kind of said Giordano, this was his year for it. The Lady Bing. This is an award that Evander Kane's not going to win.
Neither is Tom Wilson.
Yeah, your boy Tom Wilson's not winning it. But we did a little bit of research here. I like your little thing.
Yeah, I think we're going to take Sean Monahan.
He's got even less penalty minutes than Matthews, and he's producing at pretty much the same clip. That was the first episode of A Week in the NHL. Again, I'm Ryan Pigeot. This is my co-host, Kevin Benet-Amador. Stick around next time where we're going to break down, obviously, the end of the first round of the NHL, the 2019 playoffs. We'll discuss kind of the matchups going forward and break down any news and exciting things that have happened throughout that first round of the playoffs. So again, thanks for watching, and please stick around for the next one. Take care.
Once and for all, again, and the Capitals winning it again.